Welcome to the AdSense Flippers podcast. Are you sick and tired of gurus who have plenty of ideas but are short on substance? Worried that ebook you bought for $17.95 won't bring you the personal and financial freedom you long for? Hey, you're not alone. Join thousands of others in their pursuit of niche profits without the bullshit. Straight from your hosts, Justin and Joe of AdSense Flippers.
Welcome to episode 26 of the AdSense Flippers podcast. I'm your host, Justin Cook, and I'm here with Hot Money Magnati. What's up, buddy?
Yo, what's up, everybody?
Got a great episode lined up for you this week. We're going to be talking all about how to sell your websites on Flippa. So we're going to be going over our process. It's not the only way, but it is a good way. First, let's get into some news and updates. First thing we have to go over is we had a niche site giveaway that we now have a winner.
Who's the lucky winner, buddy?
It ended June 30, and we do have a winner. The winner is from the USA, and his handle is Duel Design, D-U-E-L-L Design, and he's on Twitter with the same username. So he will be winning a free niche site from us, and we'll be transferring it to you. So go ahead and get in contact with us, and we will hand over the details and get you set up.
Congratulations, buddy. You'll be talking to me during the migration process, and I'll walk you through all the steps.
Next thing is, there's a lot of talk now, man, about publishing on the Kindle, publishing ebooks. You've been hearing about this, right?
A little bit, yeah.
So we decided to give it a shot. We want to put building a niche site empire on the Kindle and Kindle Fire. So we thought it'd be fun. We got someone on Odesk to do it for us, and it is now up and available. I think we've got 20 sales or something. With almost 10,000 downloads, we've got 20 sales on the Kindle.
I was the first sale.
Were you? Yeah. I mean, it's cool. I'm glad that we were able to put this up and put it out there. And it's kind of fun, you know, having our names. We're publishers now on Kindle. But a lot of people are doing it, you know, like our approach to niche sites, which is pretty interesting. And we'll get into that a bit more. But want to let you know it's available. We'll put a link if you want to check it out. Link to our book on the Kindle. You can take a look and see if you want to purchase it.
Yeah, it's always cool to have your own book on your own Kindle. That's kind of weird.
So the next thing I want to talk about is for IntelliTheme. We've got a new theme that should be coming out in a couple of months. And I'm currently trying to learn the process for product launch, which is pretty interesting, man. I mean, there's a whole thing to it. I mean, timeline, setting up your affiliate content, right? Making sure everything's ready to go before you launch. So we're going to start that process now. And I was thinking about documenting that a bit on the blog, just kind of giving people updates on how that's going. I think that'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea because it's definitely people from our readers and listeners, I'm sure, would love to hear about that process.
It's kind of fun, though. I mean, like the old school, like Frank Kern, like build the hype kind of stuff. And I mean, it feels a lot better when you're doing it for an actual product rather than just fluff, too. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm glad you find it fun. I find building the product a little more fun than launching the product. But yes, it's definitely a critical part to the process. And to develop that and document it and get to know it well is hugely important.
Last point I want to make is we're going to be launching a Flippa auction here in July. So
yeah, we sold out of our sites in June, so that was pretty good. I think we'll have a good deal of sites here to sell in July, and we haven't done an auction in a while. And those are always fun. They get us some new people coming to the site. They're always good boosts for AdSenseFlippers.com, so we're going to try one out.
New readers, new listeners, you know, it's good stuff. All right, so now I want to get into the next portion of our program. We've got a new section of the AdSense Flippers podcast where we're going to be taking listener questions and comments. We're using SpeakPipe so people can actually ask these questions, and then we can answer them on the podcast. So here it is, listener questions and comments.
Hi Justin and Joe, this is Jimmy Lawrence from across the pond here in the UK. I've got a few questions for you both, but I would just like to say that I'm loving the podcast. I've never missed an episode, and you guys are very inspirational. I've got two quick questions for you. The first one is, what blog, website or person do you find the most inspirational? And the second is, do you plan on starting another podcast? I know you mentioned it a while back, but I just wondered if you've had any more thoughts about it. And that's about it. Keep up the good work. Take care.
Thanks, Jimmy, for the question. I'd have to say the person I find really inspirational is Derek Sivers. I've mentioned him here on the blog a lot at AdSense Flippers. I really like what he did with CD Baby. I love the fact that he's like approaching new projects, not because he needs the money or wants to build a business, just because he thinks it's cool. So he wants to build these books out through the Wood Egg Project, which talk about how to set up businesses in the Philippines, in Vietnam, and Thailand. And he's just working on it because he thinks it's an interesting thing to do. I love that.
Yeah, and I think his hell yes or no
philosophy.
Yeah, that whole post and philosophy is absolutely something we subscribe to here. So, the one that I think I find the most inspirational is definitely Dan and Ian over the Tropical MBA. I mean, before we met those guys and really listened to them and caught on to that whole part of internet marketing, I think that really opened our eyes a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I really love Dynamite Circle. I really love Lifestyle Business Podcast. Those guys are putting out gold. And I'll tell you, Dan is in a mode right now, man. He brought those guys out to Puerto Galera to start their businesses. He was loving it. You could tell. That podcast they did for Tropical Talk Radio, where he's just kind of on fire, going off on a rant, man, that's pretty sweet. So you can tell he's in his element right now.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of stuff. They're definitely getting a lot of content out there and getting a lot of things done. So congrats to Dan and Ian, and yes, you guys are inspiration.
On starting another podcast, we've talked about this. We were thinking about doing something in the outsourcing industry. I mean, I think there's a real lack of information from outsourcers in this format. So, I mean, you'll hear podcasters that are talking about outsourcing, but not nearly as involved in it as we are. I mean, Chris Ducker with Virtual Business Lifestyle is probably your best bet, but Chris Ducker's even a higher level guy. He's not on the ground like we are working with the agents. So, I mean, and that's probably your best bet, though, for outsourcing content right now. And he stopped his podcast. So I'd like to possibly pick that up maybe later this year, but we're not entirely sure. I think it'd be fun to do like a fun podcast.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, I think that it's tough for me to just sit around and talk about subjects all day long, but it's better than writing blog posts. At the same time, I'd like to do a fun one. And I'm not sure what it would be, like sports or comedy or just random conversations, but I think that would be a little more interesting than doing something on business. Because, man, outsourcing, I can't imagine doing 25 episodes on outsourcing.
All right, our next question is from Josh at WSOtesters.com.
Hey guys, it's Josh with WSO Testers, and I just wanted to say that you guys did a really good job with this Google analysis and their traffic versus other traffic sources. I think Google is still the way to go with traffic nowadays because it just, like you said, it just has so much more traffic potential than the other stuff. But anyway, I really just wanted to test out this record button in the bottom corner, so I will talk to you guys later. All right, take care.
Cool, man. That's great to hear, Josh. Really appreciate it. I agree with you that Google traffic is still king, especially when it comes to organic traffic. That was kind of our point. And it's not that Penguin and Panda haven't had an effect. It's just that you shouldn't forget about a major traffic driver or get so frustrated with it that you just want to give that up completely and focus all your efforts on something that's lower yield. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And Josh, thank you for helping us test out this whole SpeakPipe thing. Your question was well done and your recording came out great. But yeah, I would say Google absolutely is the way to go, and I don't know why people want to walk away from the market leader right now. They're on top. Is it at its peak? Is it at its pinnacle? I don't know. But yes, there are a lot of changes. Perhaps it's in flux, but you just can't deny 60 to 70% of the market.
Anyway, Josh, love your site over there at WSOtesters.com. Love what you guys are doing. I remember reading your Warrior Forum post that got like 20-something pages, and to see you guys kind of building it out now and doing really well, I'm really excited to see that. So congratulations, man. Let's get right into the heart of this week's episode.
The AdSense Flippers Podcast.
So episode 26 is all about how to sell your website on Flippa. Now, we're aware there are plenty of ways to skin the cat, but this is going to be our way. I would say that our method particularly works well when you're selling sites that are in the value range of $300 to maybe $20,000. That's probably ideal. And there are plenty of platforms to sell on that aren't Flippa, but here's the thing. Flippa has the buyers. They are the number one marketplace. They've spent millions of dollars in attracting those buyers, and that's where it is. You can check out other places like Warrior Forum, experiencepeople.net, private buyers, but if you're just getting started, I think Flippa is a great place to start selling your sites.
Yeah, if you don't have your own personal brand and you don't have a list to market to, I'd have to say Flippa. I mean, we didn't even mention eBay in there. You could sell websites on eBay too.
You can, but yeah.
I wouldn't suggest it. I mean, Flippa just has all the tools. It has everything. It has, like you said, the buyers. It just makes it so much easier.
We've done a bunch of sales on Flippa. We've backed off a bit and been selling a lot of sites privately, but Flippa is still a great way to be, or a great place to be, and it helps drive traffic to our site, which brings us new readers, new listeners, and ultimately new buyers. I mean, it's a form of marketing our products, services, and our information, right?
Yeah, and hopefully in the future our tools.
So we've got 10 great tips for you. The first one is the valuation of earning sites is clearer. So you can sell a site that you've spent $15,000, $20,000 building out, amazing back end, great programming done to it, but if it's not earning anything, it's really hard to determine the value of that site.
Yeah, you see this all the time, especially from people where the site's their baby, right? They maybe personally coded it themselves. They did a lot of the work behind it. They put a lot of long hours into building it. But for whatever reason, it just doesn't have any revenue.
Yeah, they think it should be worth $30,000, $40,000, but it's not earning anything. They haven't proven its viability, and it's really hard for a buyer or a seller to kind of determine its worth. So when you have a site that's earning, it's much, much easier. There is kind of a standard unit of measurement. There's something to compare, right? And so sites that earning, I think, are in kind of the sweet spot. Then you have that's the upper end, right? You have the low end stuff, the templated sites that haven't proven they're in a good or viable niche. They're not earning anything, and they say, hey, buy this site from me, and it may earn later, right? And people ask, well, why don't you just get it earning now, right? I mean, that's the question. But some people do that. I mean, they sell well on Flip, and they just dump those sites over and over, $100, $120, $140 for these templated sites. The problem with that is you're now competing with everyone. Anyone can put together a WordPress site with a bit of content on it, get it on a hosting account, and sell it. I mean, anyone can do that. So you're not separating yourself from a ton of other sellers that are out there. So the real idea is you want to kind of separate yourself from them and move higher up the value chain by getting the site earning first.
Yeah, I would absolutely say that's the best way to go, because you're going to be competing with the lowest level labor if your site doesn't make anything.
That's why you see all these battles, people will sell pre-earning sites, and it used to be $100 and then $80 and then $60 and $40. And I mean, what are you getting at that level? I mean, the reason they're competing down to zero is there's very little actual value there, and they can afford to do it. Point number 2, less is not more. You see this sometimes even from brokers, which just kind of blows my mind. But you'll see a Flippa listing where there's very little information in the sales copy. They give you very little to go on and just hope that the screenshots will stand for themselves.
Yeah, who is buying these sites?
Why would you think that's acceptable? I think they're just trying to spend as little time on it as possible, maybe. But really, if you're planning on selling your site and you're planning on getting anything out of it at all, it's worth spending some time to get your copy right. Get the details in your copy, get everything a buyer might want to know, and put it into your auction listing. Aside from the copy though, you also want to make sure you have all the screenshots. So if you were buying the site, what kind of relevant screenshots would you want, right? What kind of screenshots that if you left out, would a buyer possibly think you're trying to hide something?
Yeah,
right.
And even better than screenshots is video too. I mean, if you can do some video of earnings, especially if you have something complicated like PayPal earnings or something like that, just to show that there's nothing fishy going on behind the scenes, video might be worth it. Now, if it's AdSense, I would say screenshots will do quite well, or obviously they have the new authorized
verified AdSense earnings,
which is really the best.
Yeah, I mean, the video's cool. We actually never do videos. I think when we started, we offered to do a Skype screen share and show them the earnings if they, if it was that important to them. We never had anyone take us up on it. We did offer that because we wanted to make sure that people didn't question the screenshot.
Yeah, I think at this point, we have such a good reputation that I doubt we would need to do it. But new people, I could definitely see why they would need to do that.
Here's something that's really important. I see this a lot too in the Flippa auction, where you have someone that is non-native English speaker and they try to write the copy and they'll mimic another auction, but the words that they come up with themselves are just horrible. Honestly, if you're non-native English speaker, it's worth paying someone to write your auction copy. Maybe you write it out first and then have an editor or someone else go through the auction listing to really get the details down.
Yeah, you brought this point up before, Justin, and I was thinking about it and going to myself, who really doesn't have the chops to write their own auction copy? But yeah, it makes sense if you're a foreigner and you do have a good site to sell and the site has earnings. Yes, you don't want to belittle your auction because your English is incorrect or sounds terrible.
Well, the worst, and I know this sounds horrible, but there will be American or Australian or whatever buyers that won't buy from you because you don't speak like they do or it's not close enough. And it's horrible, but it is the case. Or they'll think you're a scammer because you're one of those scammer foreigners or something. So it's worth getting your copy edited. In fact, if you're going to be selling regularly on Flippa and let's say you're Indian or Filipino or whatever, have, an American look over the copy and really edit it down, and then you can just adjust out some of the details over time, but have them originally cover it for you so that your copy's good to go.
Yeah, I was even thinking, if you're maybe not the best writer, but you are good from the technical end and the business end, and you've got sites that are earning money, you might want to hire a copy guy on Odesk, somebody that's really good, that has some experience in writing this kind of stuff, to make a good template for you.
Absolutely. So the third point is trust the market, list at $1.
Oh my God, how long did it take us to learn this tactic?
Not long.
I mean, it took us a couple of auctions before we were willing to do it. I mean, there was a fear there that we were going to let go sites before their value, right? We wanted to.
I don't think so, man. Did we? No, the first auction I put a reserve on because I was a little fearful, right? But the second auction, no, man, we went with $1, and I'm pretty sure we actually went no reserve. Here's the thing, anyway. Either way, right? You want to list at $1 because if you start off at $1, you're going to get much more action. If it's $1 with no reserve, you're going to get a ton of eyeballs, right? If your sites are earning and you've put up the copy well, you have all the screenshots listed, you should trust that the market is going to give you the value that you're supposed to get, right?
Yeah, I love the $1, no reserve, no buy it now. I really do, because that will let the market dictate what it's going to dictate. And, the buy it now, you might be selling yourself short. I mean, if you have a good site and you're saying, oh, well, if I got 15 times monthly revenue, I'd be okay. Well, what happens if your site goes for 20, 22, 24x? Yeah, you can keep pushing the buy it now and try to make people reach for it. That's another way to do it. But really, you'll get a really good idea of what your sites are worth with $1, no reserve, no buy it now.
Yeah, I remember one of our auctions, we had someone contact us right in the middle of the auction, and our value hadn't gone up. Maybe we were at like 2x or 3x monthly revenue or whatever. And someone said, hey, I'll give you 10x right now. And we went for it, man. We went for it. But we sold ourselves way short on that auction. We could have went for 15 or 20, even at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that's a big tip is remember in the middle of your auction, there's going to be a lot of sharks out there that are going to come in and try to get you to sell your site for less than what the auction's going to go for.
Good on them. They're just looking for value and they know how to play the game. But like you're gonna get a few nibbles in the beginning, and then you're gonna have this like dead space, right? And we normally do it for about a week, 6 to 8 days. In the middle, those 3 or 4 days in the middle where it's kind of dead. You're not getting any views. There's no real action, and you get a little nervous when you get into the last 48 hours. But that's when the bids come. Especially if you did this $1 no reserve to start, you're gonna get a ton of action at the end, and you just have to trust that, right? So point number 4 is what we like to call the Golden Trifecta of placement, right? And this is basically being in as many places, as high visible places as possible on Flippa. Here's the thing, if you're gonna start off at $1 with no reserve, it's done. Your auction is going to absolutely sell. Now it's just about getting at the eyeballs, right? So you want to get it on Flippa to where all the activity is, where all the viewers are, where all the bidders are. You want to get it seen. The first place you'll be seen is in new listings. You can't screw that up. You're going to be seen in the new listings if you list your site for sale. But really, toward the end, where you want to be seen are in these 3 sections: ending soon, most active, and on the front page. Now, ending soon, you're going to get seen there too, because your auction is going to have an end time. But most active and front page, here's what you're going to want to do. Because you're starting off at $1, you want to get as many bids in there as possible. Normally, if you get more than 12 to 18 bids, you're going to get on the first page of the most active section.
And that's the sweet spot.
That's social proof, right? So if it's most active, I go there a lot. Personally, when I'm looking, I want to see kind of what sites are available.
Most buyers do, because they see other buyers are interested in that, so that's where they want to start.
Yeah, because there's so many auctions on there with no bids. I know that if they have bids or there's a bit of a bidding war, there's something to that site. There's some kind of magic going on. So if you get on the first page of the most active section, you're going to get a lot more views.
So how are we going to do that? We don't want to do shill bidding or bid on our own auction. That obviously we would never recommend that.
No, but if you do start at $1, it's great because you'll get a $5 bid, a $10 bid, a $15 bid. We've actually gotten to the point where we get a $5 bid and then we get a $500 bid, and we don't approve the $500 bid. So we don't have automatic approval set up. We'll hold off on approving the $500 until we get a few other lower bids under that $500 bid.
I love this tactic, and definite experienced buyers out there on Flippa take advantage of this by offering close to what they think the auction will eventually go for, and offering that early on because they know it'll keep it off the active, especially for beginner sellers.
Yeah.
So that's why you should not accept high bids and wait for a whole bunch of low bids to add up so that you can get on the most active.
It seems pretty counterintuitive, and honestly, it seems a little odd at first. And we've had to tell people, bidders, we actually contacted them and told them why we didn't accept their bid. But it feels a little counterintuitive. You're like, oh, shouldn't I be accepting this money? They want to pay me this. It's a good thing, right? Well, not really, because your ultimate goal is to get in the most active section because it's hot. The other thing you want to do is get on the front page. I mean, you can do that through a featured listing. Sometimes we'll feature at the very beginning, but most often we'll feature inside of 48 hours left, and then right towards the very end of the auction, especially if we're like, inside of like 6 hours or so, we'll feature again. I'd like to actually end the auction where I'm in all three spots. Ending soon, most active, and the front page. Even if we paid for that, we were still on the front page and we don't get any more bids, I know I got maximum value out of that auction.
Yeah, I think we featured like 3 times one time in the last 24 hours. So it really depends on how the auction is going, how many watchers you have, how many views you have. If you need to keep featuring, that's something that you should do. Obviously, if your site's only a $300 site, you probably don't want to spend a lot of money up on featuring, but that's why, probably going for low-end sites on Flippa may not be the best policy.
Yeah, the fifth point is that it's all about the eyeballs. So, one of the things we will do is we will, post on the Warrior Forum. We'll mention it on our site. We'll tell our email list. So wherever it is else that you're active, if you're on Black Hat World or wherever it is that you're active, and you can mention that you have an auction going that people might be interested in, make sure to let them know, right? Because now, it's $1. It's no reserve. You know it's going to sell. It's just about making sure enough people see it to make sure you get your value.
Yeah, you want to be talking to somebody somewhere about your auctions and about your business. So I'm sure you're on some sort of forum that you can announce that you have something going on.
The sixth point is the skinny on Flippa upgrades. Which ones are valuable, which ones are not?
This is always tough, and wouldn't say that we've scientifically tested this, Justin, but we have a pretty good idea on which ones work and which ones don't.
I'm going to put a link to Flippa's fees so you guys can check out the page, but I'm looking at it right now. The listing fee right now is $29. So if you want to list a site, you got to pay $29. They recently bumped that. Success fee is 5%. So whatever the final value is, you're going to pay 5% of the sale. They cap that at $2,000, but your site has to go for quite a bit to hit that cap. You're probably not going to have that happen unless you're selling a seriously massive site, $40,000 site. There's also a success fee minimum of $10. So at least you're going to pay a $10 success fee, even if it goes for $3, which it's not going to happen.
And this is important to remember if you're doing like templated sites or really, really basic sites, which honestly I don't think you should be doing anyway. But
so let's talk about listing features on the front page. It's $50 upgrade. But the thing is, a lot of times when you get above $1,000, your bids are going to come in $50, $100 increments anyway. So if you're over $1,000 already, getting on the first page, that's just one more bid. Yeah. If you get one more bid by being on the first page, it paid for itself.
Yeah, and if you get 2, you got your money back and more, right? You made money on that.
Yeah, we'll do at least one featured listing. Quite often, we'll do 2. First one is right inside of 48 hours or like 36 hours, and the next one is maybe less than 12 hours left in the auction, and we typically do 2. We've even done 3 a couple of times, but mostly 2. Hide listing from public view. Now, that's really not critical for us. If you have a major site or a forum where you don't want people to know that you're selling, right? You want to keep it private, that's something you can do. Not really applicable for us.
Yeah, and you're going to have a big list. You're going to have to way to promote eyeballs on it. So I don't know why you would do that if you were doing a model like we have.
Now, listing title in bold is $5, and listing row highlighted is $10. Honestly, it's one of those things. I don't know. We've done it. We've gone both ways on that. Ultimately, if you look at the front page, I consider this when we're going to feature. If a bunch of them are bold, I might wait a little while so that mine will stand out a bit more on the front page. Or if they're highlighted and ours is highlighted, I might wait a little while so I can kind of make them stand out. But I think so many people select those like low end options, the $5 and the $10 options, that sometimes you stand out by not having it.
Yeah, exactly. Like the highlighted row thing. I mean, I used to think that absolutely I want my row to be highlighted. That's going to stand out so much better as a visual presence. But the highlight is so like dim, and you're right. So many people select it because it's only $10 that you wind up actually being brighter than the other highlights because everyone else highlighted around you.
Yeah, also mention the screenshot on the listing row. Now, here's the thing. When people are scrolling through the listings, if you have the screenshot, it makes your listing a bit wider, a bit taller, so it actually makes it stand out a bit more. It's $20, but I think that's something we normally pick up because we think it's worthwhile.
Yeah, I definitely think the screenshot is absolutely worth it because ones that don't have a screenshot, it's easy to miss those in the listing from an eyeball point of view.
They also have an option, and I really don't understand why I want to ask Flippa this. What the heck is going on with this? Tweet listing to Flippa followers, $80. I've seen Flippa's followers. They're not that responsive, and it's not that interesting. That's a pretty horrible option to me. I think maybe they just threw that in there and said, we have to actually have someone go write it up, or it's not automated or something, so it's at $80.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy. We've never done it. I don't recommend it. Unless you're selling a seriously expensive site, you may want to just add that for the hell of it, but even then, I don't think I would.
Yeah, I can't see. There are other ways. Sponsored tweets, which is a great service if you really want to do something like that, but I wouldn't recommend that particular way.
They also have premium listings. You can pay for premium domain listings, $500, premium website listings, $250. We've never done that, so I can't really speak to that. But yeah, that gives you an idea, at least on the Flippa upgrades and kind of where we stand on those. Our 7th point is to get a few purchases or sales under your belt before you commit to trying out a larger auction.
Yeah, this is one that I recommend to people all the time. Because why? They have one big site in their portfolio, and they go on there and they try to offer this site for $13,000, and they don't understand why nobody's interested in them.
Yeah, here's the thing. If you plan on selling Flippa at some point in the future, go ahead and sign up for an account. Get all your stuff verified, right? Have that account, age the account a bit, right? Buy a site or two, sell a smaller site or two. Get just a little bit of experience of the process.
Yeah, especially know how to communicate with buyers and sellers by using the messaging system, which, by the way, Flippa, I think is pretty awful. But yeah, just get a little bit of history under your belt and a little bit of money, because nobody likes to have the new flag next to a seller they're buying from.
Yeah, it's totally worth aging your account a bit, buying a couple of sites, selling a couple of smaller sites. For example, if you're building sites now that you plan on selling in 6 to 9 months, think about this now. Sign up for your account now, buy a couple of sites now, sell some of your smaller sites now, so that when it gets up to you selling your $400 a month earner, you're not going to end up with no bids and no real action, no one trusting you. Right, because trust is a big one on Flippa. There's a lot of concern with buyers on which seller's going to screw them or not. So if you have aged and you have some experience in your belt, it's just a better sign. You're going to be more trustworthy.
Yeah, and then your post-sale support is also going to be well worked out. You're going to have that process. You're going to know how to do migrations. You're going to know how to handle customers, how to handle the money part of the transfer if people ever do escrow or PayPal problems. You're going to know how to deal with that, and that's going to just add to trust and give you good feedback profile on Flippa.
This kind of leads into point number 8 too, which is understanding auction and user watchers. So here's the thing, when you have an auction up, that auction starts to get people watching it, right? So you see, oh, there's watchers. What's going to happen is if they're watching your auction, they're going to get emails periodically throughout the auction. Oh, it broke the reserve, or it's getting close to ending, or that type of thing. They're going to get emails that let them know what's going on with the auction. So the more watchers you have, when you get to that middle period where it's kind of dead, but if you have a good amount of watchers, there's going to be some action toward the end. People are checking it out. They're not bidding yet, but they're checking it out, and it's going to get some action. The other way that you can get watchers is watching your username. So that's, we recommend selling a couple sites or buying a couple of sites. The good thing about that is you're going to get a few people that said, oh, I really like that site. I didn't win it, but I want to know the next time this user has an auction up for sale. So they'll sign up to watch you as a user, and anytime you list another auction, they'll get an email saying, hey, this user has a new auction available.
Yeah, these are very key in kind of making sure that other people know that you're out there and available on Flippa. You don't want to just be the new kid on the block.
Here's another thing we've done for quite a while is we thank the bidders, right? So someone will bid and we'll say, hey, really appreciate your bid. If you want to know more about us, here's this, and this. We've had a template that we've sent out to people, and we just changed the first sentence or so to kind of personalize it. But yeah, just kind of thanking them, giving them more information about you will help make them feel more comfortable. And our thought was, and we didn't know this going in, we thought it would be a good idea. We figured if we welcome them, especially early in the auction, and they check us out, they might be a bit more comfortable bidding higher amounts. right? So I was only going to go to 2,500, but these guys are good, man. They're on top of it. I'll go to 2,800.
Yeah, I really love the email one because, well, message one, whatever you want to call it. Because we send them our LinkedIn profiles, we send them to AdSense flippers. They know that we're real people. Like, there actually is a Justin Cook and a Joe Magnotti. We're not just made up, and we're not just this nameless company, TryBPO, trying to push websites. So
we should have mentioned that too. In the copy, we put our names. We're out there. We're not like this nameless, faceless being that's just chugging out sites. I mean, it's us, right? And people like to buy from other people, not just some machine. So putting yourself out there a bit. I know some people are less comfortable being so, present online, but if you're willing to do that, it'll give you an edge. The 10th point is to update the auction in the comments. Let people know what's going on. Now, I don't tell how many watchers or bidders there are because I don't want to scare off people. They go, oh, there's too many watchers, or oh, too many bidders there. But definitely kind of updates. So if you still have AdSense on the site, give updates on the earnings, right? Thank people for the bids and let people know what's going on with the sites or any changes or adjustments, right? Make sure they know. And that way you're putting more comments. I put a comment right away. Right after we've listed, I put one comment because you see that when you're on Flippa too. You see how many comments it has, and if it at least has one comment, that's a bit more social proof. So I might go check it out if it has a comment as opposed to one right next to it that doesn't.
And make sure you take the time to answer comments right away. That's really important because if comments go unanswered, people are going to think you're neglecting the auction for whatever reason, and then you're going to be hard to deal with post-auction.
And the good and the bad of it is the way Flippa works is right when you're getting toward the end of the auction. Once you're inside of 4 hours and someone makes a bid, that extends it out another 4 hours. So if you don't put a buy it now at the very end of the auction, you may see your auction extend out another 4, 6, 8, 15 hours, right? Where you have to keep checking up on it. Sucks when you're trying to go to sleep, man. That's pretty miserable. We're like handing off back and forth. Okay, you take over, man. So, but yeah, know that. And if you just need to shut it down, you can always put a buy it now a little bit higher than the current bids, and someone might take you up on it. But definitely try to be involved toward the end when all that action's happening. If someone leaves a comment and it's a negative comment that's not really answered well, you want to be there to answer it right away so that you don't discourage other bidders.
Yeah, I would say this also plays in hand, and when you want the auction to end. Think about that and what your schedule is like and what times you're going to need to be available.
Well, that's it for the heart of this week's episode. Let's get right into the ninja marketing tips, tricks, and our plans for the future.
The AdSense Flippers podcast continues.
So we've only got one ninja marketing tip or trick for you today. It's specifically talking about Kindle publishing. I've been watching this kind of in the blogosphere, and it's getting hot right now. I mean, Joseph Archibald's talking about it. A bunch of other people talking about it on Twitter and their blog posts, and how you can publish these ebooks and make a good amount of money. Sell them for 99 cents, $2.99, and sell 15, 20, 50 a month, and just kind of knock them out. They're almost like, niche sites on their own, right?
Yeah, I like this idea, and I think there's definitely some merit to it as long as the content's pretty good. I mean, I was on the Kindle store the other day just looking for like a basic sci-fi book, and I think that even fiction now is getting to this level of they're just out there cranking out content about any old subject and very similar kind of sci-fi books with the hope that you'll pick one up for $2.99.
So do you think it's already saturated? Like there are too many of them?
No, but there's a lot of low quality writing for sure. So if you could stand out by making a little bit better content, especially in the fiction arena, I imagine you could make some good money.
Someone mentioned this, and I can't give them credit because I don't remember who they were, but they talked about building it around a kind of an idea. So, Tim Ferriss and his 4-hour work week, 4-hour body, 4-hour chef. Do something similar to that where you have like a whole network of books that are around like a 4-hour, something like the 4-hour, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say you need to be a good writer or at least have a good network of writers in order to make this successful.
Well, most of the people I've been reading and talking to about it, they outsource the writing and they might do a little bit of editing themselves, but it's kind of an automated process. And that's why I pricked my ears up and I was like, well, that's stuff we do well. A couple of resources I think you should check out is ShuckaBuck.com. That's ShuckaBuck.com. I'll put a link to it. But he has an ebook about it. I haven't purchased it, full disclosure. I haven't checked it out, but I think I'm going to. I know one of those ebooks for $19.95, but I think I'm going to take a look. It's like $30. and see what he has to say about it. I think he's making $1,500 a month or something with his little ebooks that are for sale. Kind of interesting. And then Mark Thompson over at mjthompson.net. And he has a membership site, WPGoldmine.com. We're members there. And I check in every once in a while, right, and kind of say hi or, make a couple of comments on things I think are interesting. But there's a particular thread or a particular section of their message board now. It's about Kindle and self-publishing that has over 1,400 posts.
Wow.
And they're doing like a whole kind of network on like review my books and I'll check your books out. They have like a buying club where like they'll go and they'll buy from each other's books to kind of check them out and like, see if they can learn from each other. It's an interesting little group. So if you're at all interested in that, I would make sure to check out ShuckaBuck.com and then WPGoldmine.com as well. It's interesting, man. It's a good idea. I don't think we're going to be getting into it, but I kind of like it. It's kind of one of those hot topics that is interesting.
Yeah, we produce enough content right now for the niche sites. I can't imagine doing it for Kindle books as well.
Sweet Lord, I know, right, man? Oh my God. Well, that's it for episode 26 of the AdSense Flippers podcast. Thanks for hanging with us. Make sure to check us out on Twitter at AdSense Flippers. We'd love to chat with you. Talk to you next time.
Bye-bye, everybody.
You've been listening to the AdSense Flippers podcast with Justin and Joe. Be sure to hit up AdSenseFlippers.com for more. That's AdSenseFlippers.com. Thanks for listening.